Rhydian and Elara's reunion. Destiny's twist revealed, a second chance at love. But will old wounds reopen? Find out now if their hearts truly remember. The rain lashed against the windows of the quaint bookstore, mirroring the tempest brewing inside Elara. She hadn't expected to see him, not after all these years, not after the way things had ended. Yet there he was, Rhydian, browsing the poetry section, his profile as striking as she remembered. A decade had passed, yet the sight of him sent a familiar ache through her chest, a bittersweet symphony of longing and regret. She watched him, hidden behind a towering stack of classic novels. His fingers traced the spines of the books, a gesture she knew so intimately. It was a habit he'd had back then, a nervous tick when he was deep in thought. Elara remembered countless afternoons spent in this very bookstore, their shared haven from the chaos of the city. They would lose themselves in the pages of forgotten worlds, their whispers mingling with the scent of old paper and leather. The memories flooded back, vivid and poignant, threatening to drown her in a wave of nostalgia. He turned his eyes, the same startling shade of sapphire blue, met hers across the crowded aisle. A flicker of recognition, followed by a wave of something she couldn't quite decipher, washed over his face. Elara's heart pounded in her chest, a frantic rhythm against the steady drumming of the rain. She felt a blush creep up her neck, a schoolgirl's reaction to a long-forgotten crush. It was absurd. She was a grown woman, a successful architect, yet here she was undone by a glance. He started to approach, a hesitant smile playing on his lips. Elara's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to run, to disappear back into the anonymity of the bookshelves, but her feet remained rooted to the spot. The years melted away, and she was once again the young woman who had fallen head over heels for the enigmatic boy with the artist's soul. The bookstore, once a sanctuary of shared dreams, now felt like a stage for a play she wasn't sure she was ready to perform. Elara. His voice was deeper, richer than she remembered, but the underlying warmth was unmistakable. It sent shivers down her spine, a physical manifestation of the emotional turmoil raging within her. She managed a weak smile, her lips trembling slightly. "Rhydian," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. The air crackled with unspoken words, with the ghosts of conversations left unfinished, of promises broken, and of a love that had once burned so brightly. It's been a while," he said, his gaze searching hers, as if trying to bridge the chasm of time that separated them. Elara nodded, unable to articulate the myriad of emotions swirling inside her. She wanted to ask him about his life, about the years that had passed, but the words caught in her throat. The silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken questions and unresolved feelings. The rain continued its relentless assault on the windows, a soundtrack to their reunion. I often wondered what happened to you," he confessed, his voice laced with a hint of vulnerability. Elara's heart clenched. She had wondered the same countless times. She had imagined this moment, rehearsed it in her mind, but now that it was here, she felt utterly unprepared. The bookstore, with its familiar scent and hushed atmosphere, seemed to fade into the background, leaving only the two of them, suspended in a bubble of shared history and uncertain future. "Life happened," she replied, a vague answer that concealed a multitude of complexities. She had built a successful career, a life for herself, but a part of her had always remained tethered to the past, to the memory of their love. She wondered if he felt the same, if he carried the same scars, the same lingering echoes of what they had shared. The question hung in the air, unspoken but palpable, a silent plea for understanding and perhaps forgiveness. He took a step closer, closing the distance between them. Elara's senses heightened, acutely aware of his presence, of the subtle scent of his cologne, of the way his eyes seemed to see straight through her carefully constructed defenses. "I never stopped thinking about you, Elara," he admitted, his voice low and intimate. The words, spoken with such sincerity, sent a tremor through her, shattering the fragile composure she had managed to maintain. "Rhydian, Elara began, but her voice trailed off, unable to express the conflicting emotions that surged within her. She wanted to tell him that she had never forgotten him either, that the memory of their love had been a constant companion, a bittersweet reminder of what she had lost. But the words seemed inadequate, insufficient to convey the depth of her feelings, the years of longing and regret that had shaped her into the woman she was today. He reached out, his hand gently touching hers. The contact sent a jolt of electricity through her, a spark that reignited a flame she thought had long been extinguished. Elara looked down at their intertwined fingers, a symbol of the connection that had endured despite the passage of time and the pain of separation. The rain outside had subsided, replaced by a soft, ethereal glow that filtered through the bookstore windows, illuminating their faces. Can we talk?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elara nodded, her heart overflowing with a mixture of hope and trepidation. She knew that this conversation could change everything, that it could either heal the wounds of the past or open them anew. But she was willing to take the risk, to face the ghosts of their shared history, for the chance to reclaim the love that had once defined her. She was ready to listen and to be heard. They found a quiet corner, nestled amongst the towering shelves of books. Elara and Rhydian sat facing each other, the years melting away as they began to unravel the tangled threads of their past. They spoke of their regrets, their mistakes, and the circumstances that had driven them apart. The conversation was raw and honest, a cathartic release of pent-up emotions that had simmered beneath the surface for far too long. The air was filled with a sense of forgiveness. As they talked, Elara realized that the love they had shared had not vanished. It had merely been buried beneath layers of hurt and misunderstanding. The spark was still there, flickering faintly, waiting for the chance to be rekindled. Rhydian expressed his remorse for the way things had ended, and Elara, in turn, acknowledged her own role in their separation. They had both grown, both changed, but the underlying connection between them remained undeniable. The bookstore was closing, the soft chime of the bell signaling the end of the day. Elara and Rhydian stepped out into the twilight, the city lights twinkling around them. He turned to her, his eyes filled with a tenderness that melted her heart. "Elara," he said, his voice filled with emotion, "I know we have a lot to work through, but I believe we can have a second chance." Elara smiled, tears welling up in her eyes. "I believe so too, Rhydian." He took her hand and they walked,